Welcome to the Lesbian Peep Show. Peep Show.
Welcome to Lesbian Peep Show. My guest is Sydney King. We know each other because we go to gay together.
I always say when people are like, how do I know you? Dyke events. You've seen me at Dyke shit. That's how you know me.
Yeah, I feel like you're everywhere. And then we just recently did a photo shoot together, which sounds like a real flex for a leather daddy friend of ours, which is fun. I'd love for you to introduce yourself however you would like to, including the work that you do online, if you would like to share that as well.
Yes, of course. So my name is Sydney. My pronouns are she, her. By day, I'm a corporate dyke working in an office. By night, I'm honestly, like, if I seem recognizable to you, you've probably seen me at like Dyke Night or any other like Sapphic event in Kansas City. And then on the side, I run an account called KC Sapphic Calendar. I think it might just be Sapphic Calendar, where I post weekly all of the events that are either run by Sapphic people, headlined by Sapphic people, or just like for Sapphic people in general, so that we can all kind of support each other, be in the same place at the same time, figure out what's going on. But yeah.
And if I were you and introducing myself, I would also include that you can do the splits. You can do the jump splits.
Yes, I am known to maybe shake a little ass sometimes. It is my preferred bit. It is how so many people know me. I actually got into an interaction the other day where I was like at one of my friends' parties and they were like, how do I know you? And I was like, I don't know. And they were like, Dyke Night, you did the splits. And I was like, yes. I do like to jump.
I
and
were
do the
having
splits.
a bit of a dance off and I forgot that you had that, which I don't believe that dance offs are for winning, well, when I'm up to them, it's just a good time. But we were interacting and then you were in the splits and I was like, I'm out. I should just go to bed.
What can I say?
I don't have anything to do but clap.
Thank you. I used to post whenever I go out, I post on my private story, which on the topic of fans, I call my private Instagram story the Sydney Fan Club. And when I add people to it, I send them a paragraph where I've like, congrats, you're welcome to the Sydney Fan Club, because I think I'm hilarious. But on the Sydney Fan Club, every time I go out, I post like a nightly recap, and it's like, how many people did I pick up and throw over my shoulder? How many people did I kiss, and how many times did I do the splits? And people are always excited to know the splits counter.
What I'm hearing is that I'm not in this club and I'm very upset about it.
Would you like to be added to the Sydney Fan Club? Would you like to join? Oh my gosh, the Aaron Brown is a fan of me.
The Sydney King. Yeah. Our goal today, but we could talk about all kinds of things, which means you're probably going to have to come back, is to talk about community. And you have very strong feelings about how we could community better. Some of that informed by having immigrant parents or having influences from other cultures. And so, like, where did this start? You have a PowerPoint presentation that we're going to get into, but where do you begin to have a PowerPoint presentation? How does this come up?
It's actually quite a lovely story. I have always been somebody who is like just big on like community, big on friendship, big on like giving and just, interacting with my community in the best way that I can. And I find that a lot of my friends, and just like a lot of people that I know in general, I feel like it's probably like a capitalism thing, but just feel as though their presence and their existence in the world is an inconvenience to other people. Down to like the littlest things, like you'd rather take an Uber than like ask somebody to drive you somewhere, things like that. And one day I walked into a coffee shop that my friend worked at and I was like, oh my gosh, I love your mascara. And they were like, thanks. I put it on 3 days ago. I ran out of makeup wipes and I can't get it off. Like I've been trying to scrub at my face, like all this stuff where they were just like, yeah, like it won't come off and I've just give it up. Because it was like a white mascara, so it was like fancy. I think it was like one of those like face paint ones. Mm-hmm. It was coming off. And I was like, oh, like I have some makeup wipes at home. Do you want me to run and grab them? And they were kind of like, no. And I was like, okay, so just bluntly, do you actually not want the makeup wipes because you don't want them? Or do you not want me to get them because you don't want to inconvenience me? And they're kind of like the second one, because I live a block away from this coffee shop. So me running, like I had walked there. So me running home to get it would literally be me running home to get it. And I was like, okay, cool. Here's my order. Here's my payment. I'm going to go get the makeup wipes now because like you are in distress. This is upsetting you. And they're like, no, but I don't want to inconvenience you. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go get the makeup wipes so you can take this off of your face and stop being upset by this. Like either way I see, there's like, it was like a net positive. Like there's nothing, like I wasn't late for anything. I was just going to like do some work in the coffee shop. Like it's not, well, I have to walk a block home. So I ran home and then I remembered I also had this like cleansing oil thing I had bought and I used it once and I hated it. But I was like, oh, if they don't have makeup wipes in general, like they can have this. So I brought them back. And I was like, they were like, sorry to inconvenience you. And I was like, no, don't apologize for inconveniencing me. Like, just say thank you for like, like I don't. To be a friend is to be inconvenient. If we're not inconvenienced by each other, then we're not friends. We're just acquaintances, and that's fine if you want to be acquaintances with me. But I'm your friend, so like, yes, I will be inconvenienced by you. That's what friendship is. And we had just gone in this like we had like kept talking about it, kept chatting about it, and it ended with them being like, you should make a PowerPoint presentation with how much you can yap about community. And I was like, ooh. And I think I sat like right then and there in the coffee shop and like made the PowerPoint. Like right then as I started making it. Because it's just like, no. And now I kind of use it as a whenever my friends will like want to ask for something, but they're like, I don't want to inconvenience you. I like send them the presentation and then I'm like, hey, I'm on my way. In the time it'll take you to read through this, I'll be there. Just so you know, like I'm on my way, I'm coming. Don't hit me with that. I don't want to inconvenience you bull. Like I don't. Yeah.
And it's crazy because people who are concerned about that are probably not overtaxing their relationships.
Exactly.
And the people who aren't concerned about it just will inconvenience the shit out of you with no reciprocation forever.
Exactly. So
Like,
it's just
hey,
like,
could you drive me 3 hours for no reason and I haven't spoken to you for 6 months?
yeah.
Those
So it's
people
just
could have a little bit more concern.
yes, I would agree. But I think those people should also read my presentation. I think this is one that can be beneficial to both halves of this group. But yeah, I've sent it to so many people because it's like every single time. And I feel like I'm slowly breaking through some of my friends' like, idea of inconvenience in friendship. And I think part of it has also been like I host these events called Beer and Bitches, which are again, I put them on the Sydney fan club. That's the invite is I just tell people that I'm doing it on the like in like my private story is like 90 to 100 people at any given time. So it's but it is always like a last minute planned like weeknight event. They're usually from like 6 p.m. to midnight. I put them on my story and I'm like, hey, my apartment is open anytime from like this time to this time. Come as long as you want, stay for 5 minutes, stay for the whole like 5 hours. This isn't a party. Don't show up in makeup. Like, don't come as you are post work. Like, you don't have to bring anything. You don't have to be anything. You can sit in the corner and craft and play with my cat. You can like socialize with all these people. But like, the whole point of it is like getting rid of that feeling of like that your presence is inconvenient. So I always lay out the rules of like the only thing I expect from you is to say hello and goodbye to me like when you leave and enter. I always say any snack on the counter is fair game. Any drink in the fridge is fair game. You don't have to ask me, even if you take the last one, because I like will put some stuff on the counter and in the fridge, but then I'll like keep like extras in my pantry. So like if you take the last one, no, you're not actually taking the last one. So I don't care if you take the last one or if you like whatever. Just very like drop by if you can, and if you can't, it's no big deal. If you can see this, you're invited. You don't have to ask me. Just come be in community. And it's just been a really great way because I remember like when I first started doing them, my friends would still be like, are you sure I can take the last one? Like, are you sure? Is it okay if I leave? Like, what time do you want me to be there? And now it's just like I'll get a knock at my door and they'll go straight to my fridge, which is like, yes, you existing in this space isn't an inconvenience to me. You taking the last one is an inconvenience to me. You just like coming in your pajamas and reading Twilight in the corner of my living room is exactly like I'm also in my pajamas right now. Like I'm usually like doing dishes or something or cleaning or whatever, but it's like just come be in my space. Existing is not like you don't have to. I feel like especially like in this day and age, people have this expectation that like every time they're hanging out with their friends, they have to be like doing something. Either you have to be like purchasing something or like getting ready for it. Like there's always like an added layer. You can't just like exist with people anymore. It's my like hot take. So I just try to like make those events that are very like we're just existing together.
Way, I just really hope that your bar for partnership is really high and that you would only partner with somebody who was equally caretaking.
Yes.
What's
Just
your
as
sun,
little.
moon, and rising?
Hold on, let me find it. I'm a Virgo.
Same.
Yay! Oh my gosh, I've been told that I am the most Virgo, Sue Virgo. I think especially since I do the Sava calendar thing. My moon is Gemini and my rising is Scorpio.
I am a Scorpio.
But yeah, so just very like be in community with me, come exist with me, come exist in my space. Your presence does not need to be attached to anything else other than just like existing with me. Like we can just be here together. So just post beer and bitches. They're really fun.
Let's get into the presentation. Give me the short version, but let's
The
do
short
it.
version. So essentially the presentation just goes over why you should inconvenience your friends. And I've got like the main reasons are humans are social creatures and we were made to like be together and be in groups together. So I feel like having this idea that like your presence is an inconvenience or like asking for things is an inconvenience kind of goes against that. and we're still going to like seek out groups. How do I put this? I'm trying to like, I might retcon this. I think. How do I want to?
No, I like that. One of the things that has been really useful to me in seeing how this turns up in my own life in a way that I felt ashamed of, and now I see that I just needed community around it, is that like tasks are like just like the basic tasks of your life. Doing dishes is something that
Yeah.
you're meant to be doing with other people. And so when I
Yes.
have those sorts of tasks to do, a lot of times I'll call a friend and
Yes.
so I can
Same.
be with a friend while I'm doing the task I don't want to do. And then it turns it into a community thing and not just
Yeah.
like a thing I have to do that's pass fail on my own.
Yes.
But yeah, we're meant to be
We're
together.
meant to be together. We're meant to do things together. I think this quote that I have on my slide, like, we're all familiar with the phrase, it takes a village, but all seem to lack the village in question. And those who are ready to create community are unsure of where to start. The first step in building a village is acknowledging that you cannot do it alone. To be a villager is to be a friend, not a stranger. And to be a friend is to be inconvenient. True friendship is inconvenient, and that's why it's harder to make friends when you're older, because friendship is rude. Friendship knocks at your door at 2 a.m. asking for flour. It's not just every single, just there's different layers to it. So just overall, like, we need to, I think being inconvenient to your friends overall like helps foster deeper connections. This is something that I'm always kind of talking about with my friends. It's the like whenever they feel inconvenienced by like asking me to do something, I'm like, but this kind of goes both ways, because now that you've asked me to do this, you've opened the door to this something being something that like we can, expect of each other. Like I picked up just the other day, I picked up one of my friends from the airport at 3 a.m. And she was like, wow, like you're so she was like going on about it, and she was like, I really appreciate it. Like I don't want to inconvenience you. And I'm like, well, now I know the next time I have a 3 a.m. flight, I'm texting you first. Like,
Yeah.
not to say that like it's always tit for tat, but just like asking people for things and asking your friends to do inconvenient tasks for you opens that door for them to like also ask you back. It's also like it builds community resilience. Everybody has different skill sets different skill sets and abilities, and it is entirely unfeasible for any one person to hold all the skills and abilities that they need to have a complete life. That's why you pay people to do things. You pay a mechanic to fix your car, you pay a handyman to fix your house, you pay Ubers to drive you places when you can't yourself. Why are you more comfortable with paying a stranger to do something than just paying that money to a friend or like exchanging something for a friend? Why is it embarrassing to ask your friend for a ride to the airport, but not embarrassing to send $20 to a stranger? And also, that's not to say that strangers don't deserve your money, but like you could just buy me a coffee and then we could hang out and it could be a fun little thing. It doesn't have to be. Capitalism has convinced us that the answer to our isolation and our lack of community is money. The only way to get out of these situations where you just don't have the capacity to do everything you need to do is to pay somebody else to do it. Or you could just ask your friends. So yeah, just like
Yeah. And
rejecting
one of
that
the
idea
things
of capitalistic isolation.
I think one of the things too that women specifically often miss in this is that a lot of what we contribute to relationships or the skills that we have to contribute are soft skills, which are like listening to people's problems and help them, decide what to do or like think about like maybe this isn't about your friend, maybe it's about your mother and containing all of that information and the ability to connect those dots for you. Like those are real skills that people have and they're not just and not that it has to be transactional, but that is a way that you are contributing to relationships and to
Yes.
that is of value, even if you don't walk away from that interaction having fixed a toilet.
Yes, exactly. And it's also all about like individual capacity for doing something. So like I am not always the best with comforting words, but I can cook really well. So, if you're really sad, I'll give you a hug and tell you it's going to be okay. I don't know if that's what you want to hear, but I can make you dinner. I can make you dinner. It's just that different people have different skill sets that, everybody doesn't always have access to everything. I think it
Well,
also
and
gets
that's
into,
important. I talk to my daughter about this a lot,
Mhm.
particularly when it comes to like her relationships with family members, because we have an idea of like, what is an aunt supposed to be like? I'm going to pick on that because her relationship with my sister is great. So like, maybe that's not as strong as like grandma or whatever, but like people have ideas about what these relationships are supposed to be like, but they're also just a person and every
Yeah,
relationship has limitations. The
yes.
thing that I use as an example most often because it feels benign is that not all of your friends are good to go dancing with. And that doesn't make them like less a good friend. But if you're going dancing, you know who wants to go dancing. And some of those people might want to go dancing, but they're going to be on the side having a fun time watching you do it. And some people have no interest in dancing at all. And that is not like a hierarchy of who's cool.
Yes.
Like a very
Yes.
specific thing you enjoy or don't. And so understanding the limitations of other people's capacity and skill set can help you enjoy that relationship and also see it as one component in the community that helps care for your life and not like, well, Sydney doesn't really have a lot of words for me. That would be me. That's my job. So it's not a good friend. What? Here's all of these other things that Sydney does.
Exactly. I think that kind of like leads into like my like one of my biggest points is that like when you are like doing this kind of like community building, like inconveniencing your friends, you have to manage your expectations for your friends and understand that equal outcome does not always mean equal input. And so for like two friends to provide like the same level of inconvenience to each other, it might take like a lot more. For example, this is an example I have on one of my PowerPoint slides. If anybody wants to look at it, is so I have a friend who lives in St. Louis, and last year she graduated college, and I went to go to St. Louis to see her graduate. This year I graduated college, and while she did attend, and I love that she attended, I had zero expectation or like input. Like I had zero expectation for her to actually attend because for me to go to St. Louis, my parents live there. I think like my sister had like paid for my gas tank. I work remotely from home, and I have flexible hours. So the barrier for me to go see her graduate in St. Louis is just like, do I want to drive 4 hours? On the reverse, she doesn't drive. She has a pet dog. She has a husband who works full time. She works like remotely, but her husband works like in person full time. They don't like have family in the area, and it's like, gas is expensive. So for her to come do that same thing, have the output of seeing me graduate, she either has to take like a 6 hour train and like stay by me and like figure out housing that way and figure out the there and back. And I was like leaving town the day after my graduation. So it's not even like she could have just like stayed with me and like everything like that. But she would have either had to do that or like board her dog. Her husband takes off work. They drive here. They get a hotel, like pay for food, pay for the night. On the outside, it's okay, cool. We both attended each other's graduations. But underneath that, there's like so much more effort that would go into her seeing me graduate. So I can't have that same expectation of like, well, I saw you graduate. Why did you come see me? And she did see me graduate, and it made me feel like I cried. Because I was like, wow, like you drove all this way, like spent all this money, did all this stuff to come see me graduate. And all I did was not to say that like me hopping in a car and driving 4 hours wasn't work, but it's like if you only focus on the output and not the input, you will never be happy with your community because everyone's output and input is going to be, you are never going to meet somebody who has the exact same resources and capacity as you to produce the exact same output as you 100% of the time. So if that's all you look at when you're inconveniencing your friends or being inconvenient to your friends, you will never, ever, ever be satisfied by the level of like care that you're given by your community. You need to take it deeper and look at like what's actually going into the things that you appreciate your friends doing for you. Is my
Yeah.
spiel.
And I know this is also in your presentation, but that changes, our capacity changes over time. My two maybe lowest capacity times were when I was going through a divorce because I just like had like, 25 cents and no plan. And my emotional capacity was shot. And then also the like 6 months more recently when perimenopause was really kicking my ass, which was mostly showing up as rage. And I don't think that I was mean to people, but I do think I was short with people. And what I was needing from people that I love is more grace until I was able to like get medically right and just like space. If you saw me and I seemed a little off, well, I am, bitch, I am medically fucked right now. And there is a couple of relationships that I don't think made it through that. Mostly the inverse is true, that I'm really grateful for the relationships that were like, yeah, we're going to hold you for a minute. The other thing with me is that I will do anything for you. And I need to be asked. Not like as a test, but I'm not very good at being the person who like checks in all the time. And so like if you need something, you just need to let me know that you need something. I need to be tapped. Like, hey, do you have space for this thing I need? And then I'm like on my way.
And that's again, I think like a mismanagement of people's expectations for you as a person. Like what can you actually feasibly expect somebody to like, everybody's at different places. And then if that were reversed, would they expect the same grace from you or, things like that, where I think there's a lot more people who I think ultimately we need to be more honest with the level of with like the level of our relationships. So I think too often people are afraid to call somebody an acquaintance who's an acquaintance. I think being an acquaintance isn't a bad thing. I think it's an accurate representation of a lot of relationships, but nobody wants to say, like, this is my acquaintance. Everybody wants to be like, oh, we're all friends. But are you bringing friendship to this? Are you bringing friendship to this relationship? Are you inconvenienced and being convenienced by these people? And that's not to say that that's the only aspect of friendship, but like when push comes to shove and shove comes to push, how much energy did you intend to put into this relationship? And is that actually being fulfilled? Do you just want to shake ass with this person and just go to the club? Or are you looking to like cultivate a deeper relationship? Like what expectations do you have for this? I think it's like just a very big I think I'm definitely a person who like names my relationships very like clearly. If that makes sense, like I have my friends and I'll introduce them to people as friends. I have acquaintances who I will introduce to people as acquaintances. I'm like friends with one of my neighbors. We used to be neighbors, we're not anymore, but like we're friends. But I'll always introduce her to people as my neighbor first because I feel like it like more wholly encompasses our relationship to like know that like a large part of our like hangouts were like going to Sam's Club together and splitting groceries or like co-working together or like having like 30 minutes of social interaction before we both like turned in for the night. Very like we are neighbors first who became friends. Like this is the reality of our relationship. And I don't think it's a bad thing to just be aware of like we're acquaintances. That's
Yeah.
fine. But like this is what I expect from you because this is what I expect from an acquaintance. I'm not gonna call you to pick me up from the airport. Don't hit me up to pick you up from the airport.
Yeah. I feel like that mismatch happens a lot. And the older I get, the more clear that is. Because when you're talking about 2 a.m. phone calls, that happens significantly less for me at 42, right?
Mm,
And when I was in my 20s, the 2 a.m. phone calls were like, that's how you measure a friendship is like,
yeah.
can I call you at 2 a.m.? Because I'm going to need to call someone at 2 a.m. and you're going to need to call someone at 2 a.m. I'm always asleep at 2 a.m. And, just being older, there's like a different, I feel like I hold more and then can be like, hey, I'm really struggling. Can we talk about this next Tuesday? It just,
Yes.
it feels different and in a different iteration of my life. And the mismatch is often I'll have a new friend and they'll suddenly have a lot of needs for me. And it's especially when like I have become their 2 a.m. person, so to speak, and they're never mine and they don't seem to notice. I
Mm,
find that this happens more often with men, actually, but depending on privilege, sometimes there's just like a sense of entitlement that wouldn't exist with other people. But like if you are always needing something from me and don't seem to notice that I'm never needing anything from you, that feels like a bit of a miss.
yeah.
That said, for me, that's something I can make right by managing my own boundaries better. And I don't do anything that is going to make me feel resentful. Sometimes it
Yes.
surprises me and I feel resentful afterwards. But like if it feels like I'm brushing up against a level of obligation that will make me feel resentful, I don't do it. And that means that when people ask me to do something, they can trust my yes and they can trust my no.
Yeah. Yes, yes. I recently had a friend tell me, well, not super recently, but had a friend tell me that like this is somebody who I met at Dyke Night, and the way we became friends is I grabbed their hands like this, and I was like, "We're locked in. We're friends now. You can't escape me." Because that's how I make friends. Is I verbalize it. I go because the context is,
That's
that's a Scorpio. And this is literally because I just feel like I remember I went through so much of my life like not really understanding how neurotypical. Like I didn't understand. My family would always try to explain to me like when a friendship became a friendship and I was autistic and they like we just weren't clicking. And so now as an adult, I say we're friends now. And if
yeah.
they say yes, then I'm like, great, we're friends now. Like that's how we became friends. But they had told me that they had been like nervous. They were like kind of getting in their head because they're like, oh, did she like actually want to be friends or was she just saying that? And then they had mentioned that they like knew I've been told that I have quite strong boundaries. One of my friends is like, you have the best boundaries I know. And I'm like, oh my God. But they were like, I knew you had really meant it when you said that we were friends because I know your nose. So I can trust your yeses because I know your nose like the back of my head. And it's very like, because I will yell at you. I will tell you no, actually. I'll tell you no very loudly.
Yeah. Yeah. That became really important to me and shifted sort of the female conditioning, I think, is like you just do for other people and you are selfless and the way that you are willing to overextend yourself is a virtue. you know, and I'm not with that. But also, I feel like that makes you not trustworthy. So to switch that from being virtuous to like, no, you just are willing to lie to me to appease me, and then also maybe weaponize that against me later if you become resentful and you've not been honest with me.
Again, I'm very, very like, you will know my yeses and my nos very well, but I think I need to be better at like figuring out whose yeses and nos I can like trust as wholly as I trust my own, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Let's talk about who is community, because one of my, I would say, like most significant spiritual shifts in my adulthood, and particularly in the last like 5 years or so, is being more specific in my like head and heart about who my community is, because I've been public facing on the internet and then someone who talks about social justice issues and privilege and, this kind of shit for, I just realized it's coming up on 10 years now. And so I think a lot about my impact on others. I really had put on my person that anyone who interacted with even a 30-second version of me on the internet was, quote, my community that I owed something to. And then this shifted for me in like a earthquake kind of way when someone who I don't have a relationship with took issue with something that I said on the internet that I still stand by. We've never talked about it. They just talked a bunch of shit on me on the internet. But I felt so strongly about like I have misstepped in a way that has harmed this community member, like all of this language just like weaponized. That's not relational necessarily. And I've never shared this publicly. I'm sitting on my back porch and I am watching an Adrienne Marie Brown video about like repairing conflict in community and like how to do that. I'm like trying to repair a community conflict with myself and Adrienne Marie Brown. Also, she's talking to someone who has inflicted a significant amount of violence, physical violence in their community, and this person didn't like one of my posts. There wasn't anything that I could do in this YouTube video of Adrienne Marie Brown that's actually going to repair a relationship with someone I don't have a relationship with. But for me, my community is people that I rely on that can rely on me. That is my intimate community. That's who I feel like I'm responsible to. And if have conflict inside of that community, I feel a responsibility to address it. And I also think of having communities that are a step out from that, which includes like my geographic community, the queer community as a whole, and it's not necessarily people that I have no relationship to. How do you define community?
I think I define community similarly, but like in two ways. Greater community, I feel like, is defined by just groups of people who share culture, values, and location typically. So like the Kansas City queer community, queer culture, queer values, Kansas City. Aside from that, I feel like I define like my community as people who my actions, my day-to-day actions will have an impact on intentionally or like more so intentionally, but also unintentionally. Like who am I talking to every day? Like who am I welcoming into my space every day? Who are the people that I'm like thinking about every day and like making plans with? Like that's my community, like the people who are like directly influencing my life and who are being influenced by the things that I do. So like who am I gonna send this podcast link and they're gonna like it on Instagram and tell me I did a good job? Who's coming over for a beer and bitch? Things like that. I feel like it's like how I differentiate. And I think there's a lot of times, I think when it comes to like conflict within that like central community, that is the community that I focus more on directly, like intensely repairing conflict with, because the smaller the community, as just the greater queer community, if you have beef with somebody who's just gay online,
Who cares?
go beef. Listen, it's a solo barbecue. You have beef with me, it's a solo barbecue. Go beef somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's fine. You can do like go be somewhere else. We are not interacting daily. We're in the same community. We're not in community together. My actions and your actions are separate. The only thing that would bring them together is the butterfly effect that caused you to like my post on Instagram. Separate from like the like 20 dykes I hang out with on day-to-day basis. Like if there's beef there, that it's not just about, because it's also like nothing is ever just about you. Everything you do will always impact or interact with somebody else's life. So if I'm beefing with somebody who's like directly in my community, then it's like, well, now everybody else has to pick sides and there's like tension when we go to parties and da 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 da. So like that's the community that I would focus on. Like that's the community that I'd be like watching a video on how to repair a relationship with, not somebody who just also happens to be in the same community that I'm in. We're not in community together. we were just in the same one.
No, and I think it's important to differentiate, especially because we spend so much time online and have parasocial relationships that like we can feel like we know someone and we can be impacted by them, but in a way that feels negative to us, but that does not mean that they owe us anything. And for me, as someone who takes responsibility for that kind of thing and cares about it, I am interested in the feedback. We don't have a relationship that involves that kind of owing.
I will say, I do think that we all do owe each other some things, like intrinsically, but definitely not the like, you don't owe this person like an apology and all of this stuff. But I do think like, this is just my side little tangent. Whenever somebody's
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't owe anybody anything, I'm like, actually, we all owe each other kindness, compassion, and clear communication.
And I would say that someone who is adding an addendum to my work on the internet has already entered into a relationship with me that is fucked up.
Yes.
Like, we
Yes.
don't know each other, and you've decided to put me on blast in public for fun. And now you think that I owe you some sort of something back. And it's like, no, we've entered into a relational contract that I didn't consent to that's a little fucked.
Yes.
So that's different. But I hear you. I do think we owe each other a basic level of kindness that has, in some ways, I think, left the building a little bit.
Yes. Whenever I hear, I think especially it happens with like my other younger friends, and that's not to say that this is like an especially, I feel like every generation has their thing. They're like one little thing that like capitalism has just like sucked into their head and has just become like the one little piece of propaganda that they've sucked in. Like I feel like a lot of like Gen Xers and boomers still have this like pick yourself up by your bootstrap mentality. Millennials are still very like, oh, if I like work hard enough at this one company, like you know, as if a meritocracy exists still, like my hard work will directly pay off and I can buy a house and da 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 da. Gen Z's thing is definitely this mentality that I don't owe anybody anything. And it comes up especially when I talk to my friends about like their relationships or there's been so many times where I've had to stop them and be like, no, you do owe these people something. I'm so sorry. I know it sucks to owe people shit, but you owe this person an apology. You owe this person, again, kindness, compassion, and basic communication. And it especially comes up when people are like I have a lot of friends who like they'll go on dates and then they'll ghost and they'll be like, I don't owe them anything. And I'm like, you do actually. You do. You talked to this person for like a week or two on Hinge. You went on 2 dates with them and then you disappeared. It's not that hard to send a rejection text. I have one in my notes app that I would like copy and paste whenever I would like go on Hinge dates that did not work out, which sounds fucking crazy, I know. But it's just the like, you don't need to put in, it doesn't need to be a whole thing. It can be a quick, hey, I had a really nice time, but I don't think we're compatible. Like, wish you the best. Hope you're doing well. Send. And then somebody's not left hanging, waiting for you to text, or like isn't, you know, confused on where they stand with you, and also isn't inflicted with the anxiety of like, oh my God, am I a freak? Did I do something wrong? No, we just weren't compatible. Wished you the best. You owe that to people when you interact, when you enter these like semi-romantic relationships with them with like this intention. You owe it to them to communicate how you're feeling. You owe that to people. And I feel like it's just been so, that's another thing that I've been having to like hammer into some of my friends is you do owe people shit. I know it sucks, but you actually don't let, and it's always like my most like leftist friends that get like sucked into this mentality of like, I don't owe anybody anything. You owe so many people so much. You owe your community a debt that you will never, ever, ever repay. It's impossible because these are the people that raised you, that cultivated you, that cared for you. This is like who shaped you as a person, your community. You will never be able to repay that debt to every individual person who's ever impacted your life. You owe it to the rest of the world to be kind, compassionate, and communicative. Sorry, suck. Oh, fuck. You owe people shit? Fuck.
Well, and as I'm actually a geriatric millennial, there's some super rude term, the oldest millennials, but I'm one of those. And I have a child who's, I think, Gen Z. I don't think she's Gen Alpha. Anyway, and the thing that I noticed that is, I feel like adjacent that is we didn't have the same conversation about therapy when I went to my parents and was like, hey, these deeply traumatic things have occurred. They weren't like, let's get you someone to talk to you about it. Like that wasn't even like a thought. I had no idea I was neurodivergent. My brain functions incredibly better now that I have medication. Like there's lots of things we didn't have access to. And what you all, I think, have much more access to, both because of social media and because of the groundwork millennials laid, is an understanding of neurodivergent, of situational sort of diagnoses. And so you can like look at yourself in the context of a situation and say, yeah, my best isn't great right now. And that's because I'm currently working with seasonal depression. I'm in between meds for my ADHD. Like you have this like laundry list of language and science to better understand yourself as an individual. But for me, as someone who is both my age and also used to be a social worker, and so I worked with people that had an earlier understanding of their diagnoses and consequences of their actions, you're still responsible for your actions. And so if I'm like I was talking about those times in my life when things were in upheaval, I was in upheaval and I'm responsible for my actions at that time. Is it more understandable? Do people who love me give me grace when I have two time periods in my life when I'm not like myself? Sure. But that doesn't mean that I'm not accountable. It doesn't mean that that wasn't
Yes.
me. It's like when people like get the version of this from my generation is like people will get drunk and then they're a mean drunk, but it's not their fault because they had brown liquor or whatever.
Yeah.
That's still you.
You're just a mean drunk. You personally, you are a mean drunk, which means like you need to figure out why you're mean.
Yeah, or just like don't drink then.
Oh, just don't drink. And I think that's especially, I could definitely see how it's like that's where Gen Z is at, where I have a lot of friends who will be like, oh, well, I said this or I did this, but like I was going through like this mental health issue or this happened or that happened. And I'm like, that is a fantastic explanation for why you behave that way. And I accept that as an explanation, but that is not an excuse. I actually did this recently, not like I like had been like talking to this person like last fall and I like ended it kind of weird because I was like just going through I had just a lot going on. I was really, really going through it. And we ended up kind of like rekindling things recently. And before like the very first date we went on, I was like, hey, like, do you want an explanation? Like da 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 da. She was like, yeah, we went through the whole thing. And I was like, I would love to keep talking to you. This is why, things ended the way they did. But I understand that, like, regardless of like the reasoning for the way I behaved, I still behaved in a way that, impacted you negatively, that hurt you. So I would love to like pick up where we last left off. If you just want to be friends, understand. If you never want to see me again, heard, understood, like, I will like give you space because it's that acknowledgement and understanding that, like, was I extremely depressed and stressed and like overworked? Yes, still hurt people, and those people are allowed to feel hurt by what I did. Those people are allowed to not want to be around me anymore, and that just kind of that sucks for me, but it's like you don't get to just like excuse it all away. You can explain it to the high heavens, but your explanation is not an excuse.
Yeah, and having a better understanding of yourself is useful, but I think that like on some level we understand that we're socialized differently and like men are socialized in a way that is negative for women, for example, as a whole. And so, yeah, we can understand their behavior in that context. That doesn't mean that their behavior is any less harmful, right?
Yes.
So to me, that's the same as having a diagnosis, having a situational crisis, whatever. Like ideally, the people who are closest to you will extend grace if that's not what you're like all the time. And it's your set of circumstances to work through in your relationships, not your set of circumstances that everyone else has to bend to.
Yes, exactly.
And this is where
Yes.
I do a controversial thing that I don't know if you'll like. I've recently started calling the scooch in some relationships, where it's like the way that you are able to show up right now is not conducive to the kind of relationship I'm willing to have with you. Right. And I'm aware that you're working through some things, or there's a really big thing happening in your life right now, or whatever. I'm aware of a set of circumstances that are not common for you and that you're not ready to talk about, or maybe we don't even need to process this. And so, what I just do in my brain is just scooch them over. It's just a scooch. Because if someone's still in whatever the thing is, me sitting them down and saying, hey, you're in this thing and you're acting kind of wild is probably not going to be helpful. I don't know. It would depend
Yeah.
on the proximity of the relationship. If it was my daughter, we would have the discussion. At this juncture in my life, I see a lot of my friends like quarterly. So scooching someone over is not even a dramatic move. It's just like, I'm going to give them some space and time.
Yeah.
As opposed to, and we've talked about this, and I know what your values are around this because I feel like I have seen it. I have also ended relationships, but in community, then a level of scooch. Recently, I had a friendship where there was a transgression, I guess, sort of like against me that for me is a relationship ender just because of what I know about what works and doesn't work for me in relationships. And I didn't not understand why it occurred. And I don't hate them or think that other people need to be warned about that. You know what I mean? Like it's not like
Yeah.
that. And so a part of the discussion wherein I was like, hey, I know that you, let's say, stole my cat. That didn't happen. I don't have a cat. For me, I know I can't be friends with people who steal cats. And most of our community doesn't have cats. I don't think that you'll steal a cat again. I understand why that day you stole a cat, whatever. So I also want you to know that this isn't something that I'm talking about. This isn't something that should impact your relationship with our community because we share a broader community that is small, right? And this doesn't need to be like a narrative that you're inside of or combating. It's just something that has shifted my relationship with you. And I have no beef, no ill will, and I'm not going to be shitty to you when we see each other in public because I care about how you are. And that
Yes.
is an effective, I'm ending the proximity of this relationship and scooching you to where I would totally make you a casserole if you had surgery, and I will totally contribute to your GoFundMe and do community oriented things for your well being. And I won't be confiding in you.
Yes. I actually, within the past 6 months, I've had two friendships that have like ended to different levels. One was like a small scooch, and one was like a very big scooch. And both are people, obviously, who are like in my community. And it kind of, it plays into the thing of like, you just have to continue being in community with some people, and some people can be normal about it, some people can't. I love you from afar. We have like lots of mutual friends. I still think you're cool. Like I don't think you're Satan, but like you're not gonna come back to my house. Like, we're not gonna be close friends like that. But like yeah, like every single time I see them at like Dyke Night or like any other events, like we chat, we catch up for a little bit. If they needed a ride somewhere or they were sick, like of course I'll help you with that. Like we are in community together, and you're still a part of my greater community, and we still have a lot of friends who are I think we still have like a decent number of mutual friends that like I don't even think know about the situation at all, because some people are able to be quote what I call is being normal, which might be a
Yeah.
little problematic to say, be like, you just can't be fucking normal about it. But we're both very normal about the situation and non shitty. We're not friends and we will not be friends again, but like I'm not running around town telling everybody. I had a lot of friends who my baby gays. I love my little baby gays. I have like a large group of like freshly 21-year-old dykes who like think I'm the coolest lesbian in the world and are always like, Sydney, everybody take me all your events, who had like mentioned wanting to become friends with this person because they had like met them through me. And I had kind of been like, maybe hold off on that. See where they're at in 6 months. I will not be continuing my friendship with them. I'm going to give all of my friends the same space to figure out how they like, just because we're not friends anymore doesn't mean you need to stop being friends with me or you need to pick sides. I'm giving everybody the space that they want or need to figure out how they feel about this person. Because again, we're in community together. There's a certain level of respect you need to give to other people in your community, regardless of whether or not you have enjoyed all of your experiences and interactions with them. I always say it stops being my business when it becomes our business, is like
Yeah.
my quote, is the like, I can gab to my friends about something that hurt me when they're my friends. But if it's our friends, I'm shutting my mouth because that's our friends and our business together.
It's a lot of discernment too. It's where I think it's super clutch because I'm such an external processor to have friends that live in different places. Because when I talk to my friend that lives in New York about like drama I'm having here, it's literally impacting no one. You know what I mean? And so
Yes.
I'm getting my
Yeah.
that, and I can even say things I don't mean, because
Yeah.
I just need them out of my body so I can go, okay, well, that felt kind of good, but also landed in my belly in a way that I'm like, I don't actually mean that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
My
I'm
biggest
not
ones are
trying to
like
be,
my family
yeah,
in England are always hearing my Casey like this
yeah,
person did this, and they're like put cheerio. Like it's like they're like fucking like this the straight man I'm complaining to about dyke drama in London is never gonna meet any of these dykes.
totally fine. And it's so easy, I think, to shift that a little bit because I want to be able to get my emotional needs met. And I also want to, as much as I can, and I think like this is a pretty easy math to do, make sure that that's not going to harm the other person unnecessarily.
Exactly.
So like
Exactly.
I mean, need to call you out of your name once to a friend that lives
Exactly.
somewhere else. But I don't
Exactly.
need to say that to someone else. I also don't need to, and this is a maturity issue and I think a community issue. I can decide that, you and I turns out are not compatible in some fundamental way, and then not need to collect other people who agree with me
Yes.
or convince other people to agree with me so that
Yes.
I'm right about you.
Yes.
Like I can just be right that you and I are a bad fit.
Exactly.
And that doesn't need to impact you or other people, and other people don't even need to know that.
If I'm just not friends with this person, A, it doesn't have to be a big deal. B, my character alone should let people know that somebody shit talking me is maybe like not that accurate.
Yeah.
If that's not known enough, then I'm not doing a good enough job of like presenting myself the way I want to be presented. And it's also like my biggest thing, I'm always telling people this, it is not a crime to not like me. And this is something that I'm still convincing some of my friends of, is like back to the ghosting thing. I remember this like one time, like someone ghosted me and was they did do me kind of dirty. It was really funny the way that they did it, but they ghosted me, and all of my friends were like, "They're evil. They're Satan. Like we should next time we see them at a dyke event," and they were just going off. And I was like, they just weren't interested in me, and that's fine. Hey, that's actually really okay. It is not a crime to not want me. That's if it was, so many people would be in jail. Prisons would be fuller than they are. It's just okay. That's okay.
Because
You
I
don't
know,
ever.
particularly in queer community and in dyke community, even more so because there are 7 of us, it's so important to me to lay to rest anything that I can and to keep those relationships positive because it is such a like I think what church is meant to be type experience for me to be in dyke spaces. And I don't want to ever be in a position where I don't feel good about being there. And I don't want to put anyone else in the position where my being there would make them not want to be there because it is
Yes.
sacred. And so like it's like we worship at the same place and I'm good with us worshiping together, though separately.
I actually recently texted that to somebody who I had like, we're not friends anymore. That like same person. I like reached out to them like I think like a week or two after like our initial conflict. So I'm always very much like I always tell my friends if you ever get into like crazy beef, if I'm ever like angry enough to be yelling at you or something and you want to apologize, give me a week. Like I truly, 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 I need a week to like think. Because if you apologize to me before a week, I'm still gonna be mad, and I'm not gonna accept it. I will text you and I'll tell you I don't give a fuck about your apology and I don't want to hear it because I truly give me a week, give me the space to actually feel through my feelings and be mad at you first, and then we can come back and figure it out. Sent them a text. I was like, so sorry, like for like kind of like I'm not going to apologize for how I was feeling because this is like how I feel is how I feel, but I will apologize for the way that I communicated to you because I could have done it better. I still don't think we can be friends again, but I don't want you to ever feel like you can't go somewhere or be somewhere just because I'm there. If I need space from you, I will make that space for myself. If I need to be away from you, I will find a way to get away from you. Don't feel like it's on you to like make space for me when we exist in the same community.
Yeah, and I respect you and this space and the people in it. And it's another thing about I think that online discourse and non-relational interaction has brought to us is that like I always believe in people having a redemption arc, even if that's not going to be with me. You know,
Yes.
like I can be so certain that you and I can't be friends and that there's enough damage between us that probably isn't ever going to be healthy. And I'm still going to hope that even if I think you're diabolical at this juncture in your life, that something's going to shift and you're going to have healthy
Yeah.
relationships. And it may even be in proximity to me, and I will clap for that.
Yes. I think we all need to like take whenever somebody's like quote unquote being evil to us, we all need to remember like our evil eras.
Yeah.
We all need to, because I'm letting you know right now, I used to live in Buffalo, New York for school. I was evil in Buffalo. So
No,
evil. I was evil and I was mentally ill.
Sydney the Evil Dyke
I was
of
evil.
Buffalo.
Yeah, I was sitting at the evil dyke. And I have some friends in Buffalo who I've like stayed friends with. And I'm like, wow, I'm so glad that we were able to remain friends through my evil era. And I'm so glad we can enjoy our friendship together where I'm normal. And then there's a lot of people who I know from that era who I'm like, damn, I wish I wasn't evil when I met you because you're so cool and you only know me as evil Sydney because I moved away. Just like that, like remembering, so whenever I get into like, altercations with people here, I'm like, you're in your evil era right now. And that's fine because I used to be evil, but like I'm gonna hit you up in 2 years.
I'll catch you on the other side.
I'll catch you on the other side. It's just that thing of like knowing who you have the capacity to grow with and who you can only just like you can't always be there to hold up everybody. Sometimes you just have to like let people go at their own pace.
Yeah, and I think from a community standpoint, it's worth checking in with yourself. If you have an issue with a person, are you creating a boundary or are you
Yes.
like creating a crew of people to be against this person? Are you correcting them because they're doing something that is harmful to community? And is that about you doing that? Or is that about
Yeah.
them having an opportunity to change? Like, what's the
Yeah.
goal? And how do you
Yeah.
want everyone to be impacted? Because if it's just that they should suffer, then you're being the cops, not community.
Yeah. And that's also I think it also plays a lot into like I was just remembering, yeah, like remembering like why really evaluating, is this person terrible or do I just not like them? And yeah, again, like what is the purpose of sharing? Not to just reiterate what we said, but what is the purpose of me sharing this information? Am I stopping and warning people because I think that this is something that they will do again and it's a hurtful action? Or am I shit talking? Am I warning or am I shit talking? Is it actually that deep? Is what they did actually that bad, or is it just one of their icks?
Because not being liked, for me, it's like kind of a flex because it means I have flavor. Like I'm not a boiled potato. Everybody likes a boiled potato because you can mash it, you can season it, you can, basically project whatever you want onto a boiled potato. The boiled potato is kind of benign because it's flavorless. But if you have a flavor, then people will really like it or really dislike it, and they're correct. Both
Yes.
ways.
Ways. And it's like, I don't know, I enjoy being flavorful. I enjoy having like my boundaries and opinions known enough that it upsets people. Because if it upsets you, hey, bye. If my boundaries upset you, then I'm happy that I know it upsets you because we're not gonna be friends. They are set
Right.
in stone, baby.
Right. And having had this like sort of public facing parasocial relationships that sometimes turn into real relationships. I don't know. I've been like in a sociology experiment for most of my adult life and all of the life of social media, which is interesting. I've been influencing as long as anyone has. So that's very specific, interesting position. A lot of times I found when people are turned off by me, which may be something of a universal experience for people to think about. It's because there's something that I'm doing that they don't have access to in themselves yet. Really great example that I think feels less personal is there are several women who were also married to men who I think clocked me because you know how you clock queer people even before you know yourself is queer. Like you go back
Yeah.
and you see all the things you were into, and you're like, oh, I love dykes. Got it. I didn't even know that's what I was looking at. So like other dykes who weren't out yet, like had a strong distaste for me all of a sudden,
Mm,
and I could feel it happen or notice it in public settings, and then 10 years later or whatever, we're both divorced dykes and like each other. And it's like, oh, there was something in you that I wasn't willing to see in me, or something that you were
yeah.
seeing a straight women who aren't straight either are very interested in me or repelled by me. And none of this even has
Yeah.
to do with my personality. It's just like the way that we're knowing ourselves and parts of ourselves that we're not willing to know yet.
Like told my parents that I liked girls when I was like 11. And then it was from 11 to 15 that I was like, I'm just lying to everybody. Like, I'm just doing it for attention. I don't actually like girls. But
It's just not straight lady behavior.
it's just not, it's not. Like, I had already come out to my parents as like bi. Dyke now, but at the time I was like, I'm bi. And they were like, no, you're not, but that's okay. Because they know. I was gay. I was just gay.
Love to tell people I was straight, and every once in a while, someone who has heard me say that I was straight, and like I wasn't being homophobic. I wasn't being like no homo. I would just like regularly announce that I was straight, and also kind of sad about it.
That's what always gets me is when straight women are like, "Ugh," and I'm like, I have never been sad about being gay. Maybe you need to think about some things. Why are you sad
Maybe
about
think
being
about
straight?
something. Yeah, but every once in a while, someone who like has ever heard me say that will be like, "You used to tell people you were straight," and I'm like, "Exactly. Like who does?"
I
Like,
can make jokes that I came out like 10 times because like first I was like, I'm bi. Then I was like, I'm unlabeled. Then I was like, I'm queer. Then I was bi again. And then I was like, guys, I'm a lesbian when I was like 15. And this had been like 4 years of like every 5 minutes being like, I'm bi. No, I'm straight. No, I'm queer. They were all sick of me and they were like, yeah, no shit, you're a lesbian. What are you taught?
yeah.
We know. And so now it's the running gag of like Sydney had just been announcing all of the ways that she liked women, but guys, she could actually secretly like men too. Like, don't worry about it. Like, maybe I'll end up with a man one day.
Don't worry. Don't worry, men are still on the table. So let's sum it up. Be clear about who your community is. We do owe each other things.
We
It's
do.
okay to inconvenience your friends. You should be inconvenienced by friendship and inconvenience
Yes.
people. And maybe we can be thoughtful about how we relationship, including ending them in ways that are conducive to community. Is that a good
Yes.
wrap up?
I think that's a good wrap up. Also, if you want to like link my presentation in your YouTube,
Love to.
feel free. It's an ever-changing, ever-growing thing. So if anybody has any comments, put them on there. But inconvenience your friends. It's good for you. It's good for your mental health. It'll make you happy, I promise.
Are you ready for the lightning round?
I'm ready for the lightning round. Let's go.
What's your favorite part of being queer?
Ooh.
You know what? But you specifically, I want to know what's your favorite part of being a dyke.
Ooh. My favorite part of being a dyke, I think, is just like specifically like just dyke culture. Like, I just, well, A, like women, obviously. But just like, I don't know, like whenever I think about like just like very like dykey things, like that's so hard. I love being a dyke so bad. I feel like it's like the way that like I obviously like I have friends who aren't dykes, obviously, and I love them so much, and we have like very close relationships. But no one has ever gotten me the way that like my dyke friends get me so quickly about like just a lot of things. And I feel like it just comes from like the unique experience of being like a queer woman specifically, just like a queer like non-binary person, just queer. Just very that's so hard to say. I think it's probably yeah, just like dyke culture, that community, and like being understood in a way that I've just never been in my life before, like finding this great community.
It's reminding me of something I wanted to say when you were talking earlier that was in your presentation that I really loved is that there's the thing about it takes a village, but you have to participate in being a village. Otherwise, you're a village outcast, and that's a choice you are making. And it's something I think about a lot with online conversation, lesbians and queer women or whatever about lesbians not being welcoming or the queer community not being inclusive. And there are, of course, ways that we can be more inclusive. But a lot of times, what I'm hearing people say is that I didn't feel immediately welcomed or a part of something. And I just want to say,
Yes.
how are you contributing to this community that you want to be a part of? Or are you just showing up to things and expecting
Yes.
an outreach program? And don't act like you live in this village and that you should get some special perks of this village because you have come once and been judgmental.
Yeah. And it's also anytime I see, here's my big thing that I've been telling a lot of my friends recently. Anytime, because I had to delete TikTok again, because it's just every time I get on TikTok, it's just like queer discourse that isn't real. It's all fake. Go outside and talk to somebody.
It's
And my
not
biggest
happening
thing is
IRL.
it's not happening IRL. Like it's just one of my it's just a whole thing. But my like biggest thing that I try to remember is anytime I like see some like discourse online and I'm trying to figure out if it's real or not, I imagine myself trying to explain it to like a 65-year-old stud. And that's what I tell my friends when they're like, this Discord thing. I'm like, imagine a 65-year-old stud is right next to you right now. She's got like Hennessy and a Snicker in one hand and like the most beautiful femme on the other. And you're gonna sit down and you're gonna explain to this 65-year-old stud why you think him lesbians aren't a thing, or why you think trans men can't be lesbians, or whatever the new fucking dyke discourse is online. Tell that shit to a 65-year-old stud. Do it. Imagine yourself doing it and you're gonna feel like a fool, and that's how you know you need to go outside and touch grass because it's not real. It's not real. Like I'd seen some discourse, like one of my friends had brought up, like they were like bisexual women are going to gay clubs and they're bringing their boyfriends and it's making the community unsafe. And I was like, you've never been to a gay club before. You're a homebody. What are you talking about? You saw this shit on TikTok. Go imagine yourself talking to a specifically 65, because like past the age of retirement, but like still out there in these streets. You like just like a 65-year-old said, she's right next to you, and you're gonna tell her that bisexual women are the downfall of the dyke community. Shut up. Stop. It's always like the loudest voices tend to be of the smallest groups because you have to be louder to get out your group's message because there's so few of you to spread it. Go touch grass. That's my
An experience. Have an experience with real people.
talk to real people. Talk to a real life 65-year-old son because they do exist. Being queer doesn't stop at age 32.
What's your favorite queer coded fictional character?
Ooh, favorite queer coded fictional character. I should have known these rapid fire questions were coming. Like I did not prepare for this at all. I was just like, I'll just yeah, like it'll be fine. Queer coded. Adora from She-Ra, both the like 80s series and the like reboot. I think in the like older series, she's like implied to be straight, but I'm like, no, you're still gay. In the new series, she does end up with like another like woman, and it is like a very like queer relationship. But I think they're really cute together. Like I love a little dyke. Sue
I
me.
need you to know that my most prized possessions as a child, I got a Shira's palace from a garage sale. It had an elevator in it with a little lever. And then outside of Shira's palace, because it was actually intended for like an off-brand Barbie, which was a different size than Shira, but whatever. So I'd keep it outside of it, was a fur massage bed for Shira that you would like crank and this like pink fur would like revolve around it. Anyway, that feels really gay.
Shira feels really gay. Something about a dyke with a big sword. I don't know, or just a woman with a big sword in general. Like, that's gay. You're a dyke.
What's your favorite queer content right now besides this podcast?
Besides this podcast, fuck, I was gonna say this podcast. I was gonna be like, well, I'm listening to this. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called the Lesbian Peep Show, but
I love you
I
for
Kissed a Girl, the like English dating show,
that.
has me in a chokehold. I have watched it so many times and I'm obsessed every single I watch it with my neighbor and like the entire time we were like gasping and like holding each other's hands for like emotional support. It was just so I love it so bad. And they're casting for the next season now. And I'm trying to get my cousin to go on it. And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, so you hate me? Like, you don't want me to be happy. That's
Did
really
you
great.
What's your favorite queer place?
Favorite queer place? Hard to say. There's so many queer places in like just a queer space.
Yeah, whatever.
Then can my favorite queer place be my house on a beer and bitch night?
Yeah. Lots of things stay in their house.
Because I will say specifically on a night where I'm having a beer and bitch where it's just like again, just like hordes of my friends like coming in and out. And it's always like really interesting to see because I have like just like a wide variety of like friends from different groups show up. So it's interesting to see how like some of them like interact and the only way they would have ever interacted is like in this space because they are not at all in any of the same circles. Like they would never meet each other, but they're really hitting it off. And it makes me really happy that they're hitting it off so well because like they would have never known this person that they're now going to become close friends with had they not been at this like fun little event that I have on like Wednesday nights.
I wish I lived closer because I would totally.
Oh no. And there's such a Rebecca's been to one of them.
She told me. I know about this.
There's such like a nice like casual like come sit for a little bit and vibing. And I've definitely had a couple friends like I had a friend mention the other day that this is again me trying to like break the mold of capitalism on their little brains and be like, no, you exist, your existence is not inconvenient to me. It was like, yeah, I really want to go, but every time like I'm about to like think about going to one, it's like super late and I don't want to show up so late. And I like had to tell her, I was like, I have a friend who comes every single time that they come to a beer and bitch, they end at midnight. This person is always texting me at 11:30 and is like, I'm about to pull up. Yeah, pull up. When I say come anytime between 6 and midnight, I mean it with my whole chest. When I say you can eat anything out of this area or drink anything out of the fridge, I mean it with my whole chest. When I say you can sit in the corner silently and play with my cat, I mean it with my whole chest. Like, come as you are, stay for as long as you can. Just like be here with me, exist with me. It's not that, have a good time with me. It's okay to just exist.
I need you to know that if I was in the neighborhood, so like not including drive time, I would arrive at 6 and I would leave about 7 because I need to get ready for bed.
Real.
I have a routine and it's just very important.
Invalid. And hey, by the end of the beer, I always like at around 11, I'm like getting into my pajamas. I've done my skincare routine and I'm in my bonnet. And everybody knows at midnight, when I say it ends at midnight, I mean like at midnight, I turn off the TV and I go, okay, everybody, time to go home. Exactly midnight.
I love an end time for a hang.
Yeah, I love an end time. I love an end time.
What's in your most recent notes app?
I'm a notes app fiend, unfortunately. I'm still going, by the way. I'm still scrolling through. Oh, most recent note is a guest list for an event that I'm having tonight. And then also for my like therapy, I like have little lists and I like put the date of the appointment and then like every day that I'm like feeling something, I like put what's happening. So that when my therapist is like, what's going on? I'm like, the list.
You have a newsletter for your therapist.
I do. It's gone to the point where she'd be like, Sydney, show me the list. And I'm like, girl, you don't even know. Look at what's happening. And some of them, sometimes it'll be like the first pin will be like, I'm crashing out. And then the next one will be like, oh, it's actually fine now. Because yeah, sometimes it's literally just like, it'll be like, I'm crashing out. And then the next one's like, my period came. It's actually, everything's fine now. Actually, I was just PMSing just a little bit.
Is that Gemini moon shit?
Probably. I don't know enough about star signs to just I'm a fake dyke. Take away my dyke cards.
Where can people find you and do you want them to?
Ooh, now, yes. So people can find me at, again, Sapphic Calendar on Instagram.
That person.
So yeah, if anybody wants to find me, feel free to reach out to me at Sapphic Calendar on Instagram. I post my little weekly gay little calendar. Also feel free to like DM me on there, say, hey, if you want to talk about community, if you want to see the presentation, I will happily send it to anybody who wants. I do recommend using it as a tool for forcing your friends to inconvenience you. Like I said, I use it whenever my friends like, I need this, but I don't want to inconvenience you, I send it to them and then I just go to wherever they are. Send it to them, hey, I'm on my way. Just so you know, like I'm already coming. Read through this bitch because I'm on my way.
Thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you for having me on The Lesbian Peep Show. The Lesbian Peep Show with the Aaron Brown. Are you kidding me? I've been giddy about this all week.
These are the vibes. You know what I'm saying?
This is a fantastic vibe. This is a fantastic time. I had a great time.
Peep Show.